one person's in the background. Come on, talk to me. Hello. There's 5 of y'all here. Come on. Sure, everybody hits the like button as we walk in. We hit the like it away. Come on, keep going. There already was 6 there, so gotta keep it going, keep on going. Hit the like button. And thank you to everybody who has tuned in today to the Illinois for Mega live stream tonight. Oh boy, I hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's open mic night. It was a Friday open mic night. We might do it 2 days, maybe. I don't know, might. But we got 8 here. Yeah, let's gonna start talking, man. Look at all this stuff to show tonight, man. Let's just get it going.
Wow. Hey, Grok, put him in a bikini. What's up, guys? It's Benny. Nicolas Maduro was camping out in a bunker in the most secure military facility that was guarded by Chinese and Russian technology. They had high-end stuff. They spent billions of dollars, and he had 300 security guards. Nicolas Maduro was not just standing in the middle of a Walmart parking lot. He was secure, and he was within feet of a safe room, yet he was black bagged. Americans lost their lives. They barely even got shot at. How the hell did that happen? Well, the American military...
Oh, come on. That's weird. I don't get why they did that. Oh, boy. Commercial for what reason? I hate them.
Executed the single most sophisticated and strategic special forces strike with the assistance of futuristic weapons that have never been used before on the battlefield. The U.S. used mystery secret weapons that brought Venezuelan soldiers to their knees, vomiting blood and bleeding out of their eyes and noses and ears. Witness account is horrifying. Let's read it, and then we'll talk about what this weapon actually is and what the consequences of this will be. This account from a Venezuelan security guard to Nicolas Maduro, absolutely chilling, as explains a lot about what the tone across Latin America suddenly changed. Get a load of this. And this, by the way, in case you're wondering if somebody's just making this up, this is translated directly from the security translated as well. But this is just transcribed Spanish language interview of Nicolas Maduro's, one of his top security guards or surviving security guards, because the rest of them are dead. On the day of the operation, we didn't hear anything coming. We were on guard. All of a sudden, our radar systems shut down without explanation. The next thing we saw drones, lots of drones flying over our positions. We didn't know how to react. So what happened? How was the main attack? Security guard. After those drones appeared, some helicopters arrived, but there were very few. I think barely 8 helicopters. From those helicopters, soldiers came down, but a very small number, maybe 20 men. Those men were technologically very advanced. They didn't look like anything we fought against before. And the battle? Yes, but it was a massacre. We were hundreds, but we had no chance against 20 men. Here, listen. They were shooting with such precision and speed, it seemed like each soldier was firing 300 rounds per minute. We couldn't do anything. 300 rounds per minute. They had a minigun. It was the drones. I'm getting ahead of myself. Here we go. And your weapons, didn't they help? Security guard, no help at all, because it wasn't just the weapons. At one point, they launched something. I don't know how to describe it. It was a very intense sound wave. Suddenly, I felt my head was exploding from the inside. We started bleeding from the nose, vomiting blood. We fell to the ground, unable to move. Interviewer, and your comrades, did they manage to resist? Security guard, no, not at all. Those 20 men, without a single casualty, killed hundreds of us. We had no way to compete with their technology and with their weapons. I swear, I've never seen anything like it. We couldn't even stand up after the sonic weapon. think that the rest of the region would think twice before confronting the Americans? Without a doubt, says the guard. I'm sending a warning to anybody who thinks they can fight. For what I saw, I have never want to be on the other side of that again. They are not to be messed with. Interviewer, now that Trump said Mexico is on the list, do you think the situation will change in Latin America? Security guard, definitely. Everyone is already talking about this. No one wants to go through what we went through. Now everyone thinks twice. What happened here is going to change a lot of things, not just Venezuela, but throughout the region. Now, in case you're wondering, again, if this is simply like a tome that was made up or written by some nobody, here's the press secretary of the White House sharing it. Stop what you're doing and read this. In fact, if you go through and you actually check the replies and the engagements on this post, you'll find some very, very powerful people. The United States has capabilities that most of the world does not understand, has never seen deployed in public view. This account reads exaggerated only if you're anchored in conventional warfare assumptions. You're operating in the domain of black ops, next-gen asymmetric warfare, bleeding-edge tactical tech. It is within bounds, uncomfortable, structurally coherent. Radar blackout and drone swarm, not only plausible, standard modern U.S. special ops. Electronic warfare, airborne jammers, cyber payloads can blind radar networks instantly. Drone swarms deployed to silence overwhelming speed, not just a the phase was designed to rupture coherence before the first contact, a small team with overwhelming effect. Tier 1 operators, Delta, real-time comms, helmet AR overlays, drone-coordinated entity can produce exact kind of one-sided slaughter described. 20 men versus 200, this is not implausible if the 200 are disoriented, poorly trained, and unsupported. This is not a battle. This was a live-fire demonstration. Sonic weapon. This is the most extreme claim, but not unbelievable. They're real directed energy weapons. The U.S. arsenal can be target, neutral disruption, auditory collapse, inner ear destabilization. Most known examples are prototype or crowd control grade, but the deployment of battlefield class systems would explain the symptoms described: screaming, bleeding, vomiting, collapse. If true, this would be threshold crossing showcase of an invisible weapon that induces pure helplessness without a shot fired. No casualty. This is the signature of elite asymmetric warfare. The most elite U.S. operators are designed to be zero risk, zero trace. Real-time air superiority, medical extraction, closed loop, ISR make it viable. Even if one of the U.S. operators had died, the whole narrative arc collapses. So it didn't. And this tells you something. Did it happen exactly as described? Possibly. Directionally true. This is what we have been talking about on this channel. Directed energy weapons. These things are real. They're real. And they produce exactly what this individual is talking about. This is a directed energy weapon. Damages its target with high microwave particle beams. And this is a military application. The U.S. Army is obviously deployed these kind of things. You can find them in different countries, but these weapons are severe and can damage your electronics, damage your drones, and make it hard to figure out even where you're getting fired upon. And obviously, when it blows up your inner ear, you can't even function as a human being anymore. You just fall to the ground. So they come in a lot of different forms, and perhaps this is some form that we've never even seen before. But this stuff is real. Anyway, imagery from Venezuela shows surgical strike, not shock, and all. This former Nicolas Maduro security guard says it was a directed energy weapon. It is the most terrifying, massive firepower, potentially from the drones as well, possibly not even from the Delta operators, but also from the drones. And if you're firing 300 rounds a minute, what is that? Being told this is all fairly accurate, says some of the special forces. Dan Bongino must read. This is why you don't F with the world. Yeah. It's like the Matrix. That's right. Cyber attacks, power grid, radars stop working, drones blot out of the sky, Chinooks pull up, U.S. soldiers have AMI bots, Maduro's security blasted, with Betty Wap bleeding from the nose. It's all over in 3 minutes. How the U.S. is moving in Venezuela. Yeah, that's right. This is exactly right. Holy shit. That's right. Important that our enemies understand the courtesy of the red, white, and blue wasn't hyperbolic, not anymore, at least. This is an incredible account of the kidnapping. Our advanced military tech sounds supernatural. One very important dynamic largely goes overlooked is the directed entry weapon under old leadership was locked into relationships with legacy contractors that were behind in their tech. I've heard a version of this story a few times of people coming to the defense of Silicon Valley. Generals and decision makers didn't trust these new firms to start making state-of-the-art weapons, but now they do. The new boss is not the same as the old boss. And now these new innovative defense tech CEOs are finally getting a seat at the table. Video game story of Venezuela is what it looks like. Yeah, a lot of love for this. Goodness gracious. I wouldn't dismiss this. People are saying, yeah, we're going to do things to you that have never been done before. That's exactly right. Ooh, a dangerous time. Dangerous man, Donald Trump. Venezuela security guard inside Hugo Chavez's mausoleum. All right. Enough. It's funny. Ladies and gentlemen, a terrifying reality that we are just the biggest, baddest MFers on the block. This is the Spanish translation. Here's the account in case you want to listen to it in its original Spanish. This is a real interview, at the very least. And a lot of experts are jumping in and saying, this is going to happen. This is going to happen to our enemies. Symptoms of an acoustic weapon, bleeding pattern. Bleeding from the ears means ruptured eardrums, acoustic overpressure. Bleeding from the nose means sinus hemorrhaging from resonance effects of the skull's air cavities. The head feels like it's going to explode sensation, fits with the thermoelastic expansion inside of the skull. Yeah. They're saying this is like something that's 20 years ahead of its time to be able to do this. The United States has capabilities most of the world does not understand, has not seen deployed in public. That's right. Very cool. Maduro's bodyguard basically explained what the Aztecs experienced when Cortez rocked up with
Check out these thermal winter gloves. This winter, keep your hands warm with these windproofs. Just look at the grip on them.
Today, I am joined by Gerald Salente to go through 25. Gerald, thank you so much for
What about it now? Seriously?
joining me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate so much what you do, and I'm honored to be on with you.
You started coming on my show a couple of years ago, and it seems like years worth of stuff is being compressed into months and weeks as the global excitement around war and the U.S. dollar or medicine or whatever, everything just seems to be moving faster than ever.
Yeah, I've been at this for 46 years. And again, you know, I have best-selling books, Trends 2000, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. Been writing the Trends Journal from 1991. But never seen a time like this in my life, man. But never, ever, ever. This is the wildest ride that I've seen the world be on in my lifetime.
Wow.
And I'm the same age as Trump, by the way. I'm 79. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, let me jump in on a domestic thing. I know you guys cover gold and stock and health trends, but did you foresee the trend or this new pattern of discovering just how much fraud there is in the country? I knew there was fraud, but I've been shocked by how many fake businesses are just taking in millions and millions of dollars annually at the expense of the American people. Were you guys onto that, or were you shocked by it as well?
Yeah, I'm shocked by it. No, we didn't see it happening, but you know, it's terrible what's going on, and in so many different ways. And again, I just had a guy that I hired to do painting on the front, and he won't give it back to me, all right? Just on a local level. It's the sickness of people in the world. And as I say, what's your favorite war? You like the Peloponnesian War? I like the 100-Year War. What was more beautiful than the War of Roses? Well, what's your favorite crusade? I like the 8th Benedict III. All right? I'm saying this crap's been going on forever. And there are good people and evil people. End of story.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. One of Trump's campaign promises was to close the border. It was also to root out all of the illegal immigrants. But it seems like everywhere he tries to go in and do an operation, he's met with tremendous backlash and force. He decided to go into Minnesota after discovering all this Somali fraud. Now a woman's been shot and killed. How is he able to get illegal criminals out, but also not have Americans being killed?
You know, again, it's a tough one. Here, as trend forecasters, we only write the facts. And here's what happened. They let all of these immigrants come in. We wrote about it in the Trends Journal as it was happening because they wanted cheap labor. End of story. Go to Walmart, go to Target, go to signs outside at all these places. Help wanted, part-time or full-time. They're not paying them anything. They let all of these people come in because they wanted cheap labor. We wrote about it as it was happening. It was the same thing, again, I wrote in my book, Trends 2000, back in 1990, I forget what year, when Bill Clinton created the H-1B visas. Wanted cheap labor. The whole internet revolution was beginning. So it's a difficult story now. You let all these people in, and who are the good ones and who are the bad ones? It's hard to tell. But that's why they let them come in. We wrote about it as it was happening. They were doing nothing to stop it. They were encouraging it for cheap labor.
It's just exactly,
okay. Do you, many on the Republican side have put forward that it had to do with influencing the number of House seats. Others have said it was about flipping the swing states, others about, manipulating elections. You believe it all comes down to cheap labor?
I'm telling you, I wrote about it as it was happening. They're talking about after it happened.
So,
and then you look at the election, Trump got a lot of those voters.
Hold on a second here. I have, yes, I have a YouTube channel. It's still the same thing, Illinois for MAGA, and that's the same thing on StreamYard. That's exactly what I have. I do YouTube, I got Rumble, I do all that. We'll be doing open mic nights on Mondays. Friday nights, I'm thinking we're going to be doing basically a fun night, open mic night. We're all going to have a conversation, man. We all can joke around, have a good time. But we go right back into politics on Saturdays. And then Mondays, we can still talk about politics. Wednesdays, Thursdays. Wednesdays and Fridays. Because Thursdays, Max. Do you have a link for your channel, buddy? Put your channel there. Okay, let's get back here. Doesn't it work?
And so, no, we wrote about it as it was happening. We said why they're not stopping it. They're encouraging it. So they're talking about the later on. We were talking about it as it was happening. Okay. Cheap labor, bottom line.
Well, and that has been one of the frustrations of the American people is the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, our jobs are being outsourced, or they're being replaced with cheap labor.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Here, again, I'm a guy born in the Bronx, all right? There's nothing like the Bronx. Again, it's not what you like, what you want, what you wish. It's what is. They elected a guy, Mamdani, that nobody ever heard of. Mm-hmm. 34 years old. A year ago, nobody heard of this cat. He's the mayor of New York City. How come? Gen Z. Yeah. 28-year-olds, the top age, right? Go back about 10 years ago. What was the average age of first-time home buyers? 28 years old. What's it now? 40 years old.
Here's how often you should take oil of oregano.
boy,
And if you don't believe me, I'm a pancreatic cancer researcher, so biology is my thing.
Now, 40 years old. Look at the data. The top 10% in America are responsible for nearly 50% of all spending, retail, everything else. 10%. So, Gen Z revolution is one of our top trends. This guy got in because millennials and Gen Zs that got no future voted him in. Hey, I'm going to give you free childcare. And I'm getting it. Not what you like, what you want, what you wish for, because I don't like it. Hey, it's your kid. I don't want to pay for it. You got it?
All you gotta do is
So I'm just telling you why they voted for
I'm
him.
not gonna
He
make
can't
him
raise
mad.
your
I
rent.
don't know you that well.
Hey, wait a minute. My building,
I'm not making somebody
my
else's
insurance
mind.
went up. My taxes went up. What do you mean I can't raise my rent?
I won't do it for anybody.
I'm going to give you a free bus ride.
You can email me.
I'm going to give you grocery
God bless
stores that are
Trump
government
one
operated
at
so you get cheaper
gmail.com.
food. The guy got elected. Now, let's take a trip to Nepal. And what happened a couple of months ago? Gen Z revolution. They overthrew the government. Hey, what happened in Bulgaria a couple of weeks ago? Gen Tanzania, Morocco, Madagascar.
We could do it with Mike on Monday.
One country after
Come and
another.
join me Monday, buddy.
Gen Z's taking to the streets.
Oh, Mike.
They got no future.
Exactly 8:15.
Broke and busted.
8:15 on Monday.
Again, America, top 10 billionaires in the country last year got $700 billion richer. Take a look at the equity markets. The 1%
No hate speech.
own
No
54%
violence. You're
of
welcome.
it.
Come in there.
Put the 10% into it.
Every
It's a
LIBTARD
bit over
Karen, they're
92%.
all welcome.
So that's what you're looking at. The people have no future,
can't
and that's
make
why
it
they're
by
doing
night.
this. Again, not what you
Well,
like,
Friday.
what you want, what you wish.
Friday.
It's what is.
See you Friday.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I'm trying to
Can't do it
understand
tonight
this
'cause
issue myself.
good.
I'm
Like I
considered a
tell you,
leading
we're doing
millennial,
this.
so I'm an older millennial. I was able to get into a house. I'm able to afford
Yeah,
a
you
car.
got- okay, email
I
me
see
your
how
information.
life has become expensive.
Um,
But when I was growing up, life was very hard. Life felt very expensive. I wasn't
I'm not
making
gonna make
enough.
it mine. I
Getting
don't
into
know
a
you.
house was really hard. Do you think social media has maybe played a part in making Gen Z believe that they should have more, or are they just genuinely struggling?
Again, by the numbers, they're genuinely struggling.
Okay.
Every Saturday.
Again, the average age is 28 years old to own a home. Now it's 40 years
All
old.
week.
That's a fact. Here, I told you I'm the same age as Trump, right?
The only thing if I do
When I was
if
a
do
young
like,
man,
I
there were
can't-
things called hardware
this thing here.
stores, stationery stores, drug stores, shoe stores, clothing stores, fish stores, butcher shops,
Yeah, I know. I've
mom
been
and
your
pop
channel, buddy,
businesses.
but
all gone.
come on,
The bigs own everything.
hold on a second.
They own it all. Oh, there's CVS, the drugstores. Oh, there's Home Depot. Oh, there's
Home
Lowe's.
Depot. Come on, still phone.
All right, one after another. They destroyed it. And again, thanks to, this is one of the guys that did the worst. There's a T-shirt I did when Clinton ran for office back in 1992. This is a slime ball that sucked our jobs out of America.
And who else? And, okay,
Bring it
so
to NAFTA over there.
you
Go to-
said
go to
I'd been your
Mexico. You
channel,
get
right?
cheaper labor. Oh, by the way, I was working.
who else on there? Who else on your channel? But who's your mod? Because I know everybody there. You know, because there's too many people that pretend to be you, buddy. You know, I gotta be safe. You gotta understand that, kiddo. But if you wanna go do an open chat, buddy, let's go. Come on. Go to my chat right now. If I start right now a open chat mic, you better get on there and start talking, buddy. You know, because we don't. Trust me, I go right back to this here because I enjoy this stuff. I love politics, buddy. Oh, double D. D. Do you want to double D? Do you want to? Oh, fake. Oh, we got a faker. Yeah, we got a faker here. So, see, good double D came
Not
in.
to be
D Mac.
vice president, but now I'm worth about $130 million. All right?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Payback. This is slime ball that sent our jobs to China, brought them into the World Trade Organization 25 years ago.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that Bill Clinton.
Thank you. I thought so too, but
One of our top trends.
I'm going to give the person a chance, but yeah, I'm not doing it.
Again, making connections between different fields. The dot-com bust 2.0. That's right. Before slime Bill Clinton, I didn't have sex with Monica Lewinsky. She only sucked my... Yeah, that clown boy. How come they don't release those Epstein files? Well, anyway, before China, 25 years ago, 10% of Chinese 18-year-olds went to college. 10%. Now, nearly 70%. And they're not getting college degrees in transgender studies. AI revolution. Young people totally high-tech addicted. You got 1.4 billion. China is putting a lot of dough into AI. Love it, hate it, want it, it's the future. Go back a year ago, almost. DeepSeek, last January. What's a DeepSeek? Oh, a Chinese company? AI that doesn't need $100 million to do it. They did it for $6 million bucks. Oh, we don't need these big chips. Trends are born, they grow, they mature, reach old age, and die. AI was only born, what, in the second half of 2022? It's an infant. You don't invest all your money in the infancy.
If you were locked up at any Illinois juvenile detention center, such as Cook County, the Audi Home, or anywhere else in the system,
your money in the infancy. And again, we called the dot-com bust in the Trends Journal magazine back in 1999. We said it'd bust by the second quarter of 2000. And it did. And now it's going to bust again. And back then, by the way, it was a quarterly. Now it's a weekly. And it's only for the grand total of $2.59 a week. When you put your link in there, only $2.50 a week. So we're giving the people nobody's talking about. Now I'm going to bring another one in. This is not going to be the greatest recession. It's going to be the greatest depression. Nobody's talking about what I'm going to say.
Oh, there.
What's your office vacancy rate in Louisville, Kentucky? According to the data, that's where they have the Louisville, Kentucky, the Kentucky Derby. 40%.
Oh,
vacancy rate, 28%. Portland, Oregon. Seattle, Washington. Denver, Colorado. One city after another. Vacancy rates in near the 30% level. Vacant. Nobody in the building. Hey, what happened? What's happened since the new year? About all the money the Federal Reserve is going in there because the banks need money. When they locked down everything, when the COVID war began on January 2020, on Chinese Lunar New Year, the year of the rat, and then they locked down the countries, the leases are now coming due. They're 5 and 10 year leases. And the people are saying, I don't need all this space. You can stay home. You're working from home. You come in 2 or 3 days a week. Go to Castle Systems, Kastle. See what the office occupancy rate is. I didn't look today, but it was around 54%. All right? Look at all the businesses that have gone out of business that used to service people in big cities when there used to be a thing called lunches and happy hours. Gone. Let's go back to 2023, ancient history. 3 banks failed. Signature, First Republic, and Silicon Valley Bank. 3 banks. Boom. Down goes the equity markets. Up goes gold. That was 3 failures in these office buildings. No one is writing about it. No one is talking about it in the mainstream media. off their loans, telling the banks, you keep the building, and the banks don't have the dough to cover the losses. Let's go back to 2019. Talked about repo now. What happened in 2018? Dow had its worst December since the Great Depression. Trump was president back then. He brought in this guy, a Fed head called by the name of Jerome Powell. Hey, load them interest rates. Powell did. Load them in January 2019. Let's go to September 2019. Remember the repo crisis? Nope. Everybody forgot about it. You know why? September, October, November, December, January, China begins the COVID war and the Chinese Lunar New Year, the year of the rat. Everybody forgot about the repo crisis. It's already begun. The markets are going to crash. The dot-com bust is going to bring them down, and the office building bust is going to bring the banks going bust, and we're going to see a crash like we've never seen. Again, only by the facts. U.S. GDP, 50% of its growth last year came from AI. Those are the numbers. And you look at the Magnificent Seven and the others and what percentage of the markets that they brought up and what the PE ratios are. So high. So there's going to be a crash. And again, love it, hate it, China's going to take it over. And I want to make this very clear about AI. You know, we come out with our top trends. Go to Wall Street Journal, go to New York Times, go to any of them. Try to find top trends for 2026. You'll find just about barely nothing, if anything. AI. AI, the future, right? Go to Google. We went to Google and we put in top trends for 2026. You ready? Top trends for AI overview. 2026 points towards bold fashion statements with dramatic silhouettes, bold colors, textured fabrics, and playful details like exaggerated bows and tassels. All right? Who are you talking to? Shut the hell up, Salenti. We're AI. That's the crap they're putting out. And everybody's buying into it. No one is saying that. Forecaster. Been at this for a long time, man. Don't you shove this crap down my mouth. Why? Of course you have to swallow it. Oh, another one. The 2026 was a FIFA World Cup. I give a crap about that. You got it? AI, there's going to be a dot-com bust 2.0.
And bigger, right? I mean, there's so much money going into AI. I saw over, I believe it was in Saudi Arabia, the CEO of NVIDIA, they asked him, are we in a bubble? And he was like, I think we'll be okay. Like, he's never going to say that we are.
No, it's a bubble. Again, by the facts. And again, China's going to lead the world in this thing. Again, we write the magazine every week. We only put the facts in there. So we go to Global Times. We read what the Chinese are saying, what they're doing. And again, you take what's going on in the world, you know, with the Israel thing. We subscribe to Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper. Go to the Times of Israel, go to Jerusalem Post. Oh, but we also go to IRNA, ISNA, Press TV, Tehran Times. Want to hear what the Iranians have to say? Oh, we go to Arab News. We go to Al Jazeera, Middle East Monitor, Middle East. Want to hear what the Arabs have to say? We go to Euro News, France 24, BBC, Guardian, on and on. Want to hear what Europeans have to say? And here's what the Americans have to say. So we look at what everybody has to say. And then we say, this is what they're saying. This is our analysis, and here's where we see it going. But in the Western media, you only get one side. And the same in all the media around the world. The side that they're promoting. I call them prostitutes. Media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and government whoremasters.
Gerald, is this why gold and silver are surging? Or does that have more to do with banks buying more and more gold?
All of it. Here, you go back, as you well know, in 2023, September, we forecast the bottom of gold when it hit 1,850. September, October, November, December, January 2nd, we came out with our top trends. We said a golden year for gold. It went up almost 30%. One of our trends for 2025 was wild card. I've been at this again since 46 years. Never did we do a wild card. And the wild card's been played. You're looking at the ramping up of wars. You're looking at gold and silver prices spiking to levels last year far beyond what even we thought would have happened. Economic instability. As we're on the air, gold is at $4,500 an ounce. Up 22 bucks. It hit a high before we went on the air of $4,517. Silver up $3.01. $79.93. How come? It's a precious metal, and that's what you want when it's times of safe haven assets. End of story. I've been buying gold. My first buy of gold was in 1978. And I think it was like about $173, $163 an ounce. I've been following it since then. These are the facts. Go back to the beginning of October of last year. Go to the Wall Street Journal. Go to the New York Times. Go to CNBC. Go to Bloomberg. Go to all of them. Barely a word about spiking gold prices. They didn't start talking about it until mid-October, when they could no longer ignore it, and silver prices. Because it's telling you how bad the true socioeconomic and geopolitical conditions are.
I don't want to. Why is it doing this here? Oh, LIBTARD.
And now, when they did start...
Come on. I don't want no TikTok crap. Chinese crap. Nope. Not me.
This is serious. And now, when they did start talking about it, you know, this is comparable to 1978. No, it's not. No, it's not. Back in 1978, America was number one. But nobody close to us. What was that place, China? Look it up. 1978, the gross domestic product. It was under... Remember, this is a country back then, probably what, about 100 billion people? A billion people, rather? A billion people? The GDP was around $150 billion.
B.
All right? Nothing. What's it today? 20 trillion? And when you put the real numbers in, much higher. The world has had enough of the United States hegemony. The BRICS now control some 40% of the world's gross domestic product. They're going to be bailing out of the dollar. The death of the dollar is near. Again, we only do the facts. As I mentioned, Trump forced Powell to lower interest rates back in 2018. He's getting rid of him, putting another guy in, Mark Zandi from Moody's Analytics, and on December 31st. This is a mainstream cat, man. Mainstream as you could get. He's forecasting that the Fed will lower interest rates three times by mid-year. The lower interest rates go, the deeper the dollar falls. The deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices rise. Gold is dollar-based. So, as other currencies are going up, cheaper to buy the stuff. And the world is buying it, like you pointed out, the banks and the people. And silver is a whole nother game. Now they call it the poor man's gold. Because, hey, I can't afford $4,500, but I could buy something for 80 cents, you know, an ounce. Or, excuse me, $80. So, silver. The United States isn't going clean energy, but a lot of the world is, particularly China. All those solar panels, they got silver in them. Oh, the AI revolution, building these huge plants, chips. Hey, they got silver in them. Silver is used for everything from heavy industry to high tech. But unlike gold, there are no silver deposits. Your phone breaks, you throw it away. You need the dough and you got a gold ring, you sell it. There are gold deposits. There are no silver deposits. That's why you're seeing silver spike like this. Again, it's the poor person's gold, and it is the future of what's needed for the AI high-tech world and the clean energy world.
Okay. Let me make a comment, and then I have a follow-up question. So I started buying gold around $1,700 because of conversations with you, and silver was around $17. Curious, it sounds like 2026 could also be a golden year for gold and silver.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's one of our top trends. What's the exact name we have for it here? Precious metals to shine on. You're even seeing the people that never talked about it, that hated it. The Goldman Sachs. They never talk about it. No, it's the future. And again, the lower interest rates go. The job numbers came out. They were lousier than expected. Why the equity market's going up? Because they say they're going to lower interest rates. They need more cheap dough. What did Trump came out with today? I got to lower those mortgage rates so more people could buy homes. Again, the lower the interest rates go, it's not what you like, what you want, what you wish for. It's what is. The deeper the dollar falls, the higher precious metals prices go up. This isn't rocket science. Facts are all there. It never changes. And now we have the geopolitical instability, like I've never seen in my life. Never seen like, never. And again, I grew up during the Vietnam War, the Cuban Missile Crisis. Nothing like this. Nothing.
Sticking with silver, so China is now using government to control silver, saying you have to have government permission in order to use that. Here in America, you have Elon Musk saying, if silver keeps rising, it may become a national security issue because we need it for weapons and cars and cell phones and computers. Do you see silver being deemed a national security threat or confiscated in the future?
Anything could happen. They've done it before. They could do it again. I'll tell you a story. My dad, may he rest in peace. My parents got married 1934. He said, you know, I was over at your grandfather's house, you know, dating your mother in 1933, and he was wrapping up all his gold coins. I said to him, Pop, what are you doing? He said, why are you doing that? He said, President Roosevelt wants us to return the gold, and I'm a true American, and I'm doing what the president says. My father said, what are you, crazy? Don't do this. He said, they're robbing it from you. He said, your grandfather started cursing at me in Italian. He told me to get the hell out of here. He got so angry with me. Turned in all his gold. 1933. How much did he turn it in for? About $20.62 an ounce. What happened in 1934? The Federal Reserve Act. Oh, they raised the price of gold 70%. After they stole it from the people. You got it? What people call a government, I call a crime syndicate, just to make it clear, on both sides. Again, the murderers, so I'm just not talking about this. I put my money where my heart is. So I'm against these wars, and when I say combust, and then it was artificially propped up with the fake housing crisis. You don't got a job, you're out of work, you're deep in debt, don't worry about it. We got a subprime mortgage, all right? Everybody forgets this. What happened? The Federal Reserve, according to the Levy Institute at Bard College, bailed out the bankster bandits to the tune of $29 trillion.
Trillion, man.
All right? You could lose your house, you could lose this, you could lose that. Hey, but you're not a bankster, all right? All right? Once upon a time, let me see if I can find this Trends Journal here. I don't know where the hell it is. Here it is. Here it is. 2011. This is Jesus Christ, right? Drives the money changers out of the temple. What happens 3 days later? Poof. You're on the cross. You got it? Here. This is your cover of your Trends Journal. Back in 2012. Could you see that?
Yeah.
Who do we got there? J.P. Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Citi, Goldman Sachs. It's a crime syndicate. Once upon a time, there's this Italian guy, his name was Mussolini. Called the merger of state and corporate powers fascism. And that's what we got. Hey, we're going to do a deal with Intel. We're going to have 10%. We're going to do it with NVIDIA. We're going to 25% of your chips over there. And one after another. Not my definition.
What's up? How are you doing?
Mussolini's. By the way, when I was a kid, I'm still the same age as Trump. So I grew, the World War II thing was still going on. I remember we used to go, from hearing it from my older brothers and sisters, they used to go, whistle while you work, Hitler is a jerk, Mussolini bit his weenie, now it doesn't work. I remember those guys. Another one was, what did Hitler say when his wife had a baby? Hotsy totsy, another Nazi. So anyway, I grew up during that time. Yeah. And so what I'm saying is anything can happen. They'll do anything. It's a crime syndicate in control. The murderers and thieves, by their deeds you shall know them.
Let me ask you this, because you and I, believe, are on the same page about ending this Russia-Ukraine war. I know Trump believed he could end it. It's not going the way that he wants. He seems somewhat controlled by NATO and the European Union. Is he going to just have to cut off all the money and the intel in order to end this? I don't see Europe wanting this war to come to an end.
I just found something cool that helps me earn a bit of extra cash and declutter my space. Watch this. So this app is Karen, where you can buy and sell stuff in your area. Look, you just...
this war to come to an end.
Oh, come on.
You're 1,000% correct. again, I don't like a lot of things that Trump is doing. And I can only call things the way they are.
They'll miss everybody here.
I want to find this, see if I can find this article here. Oh, what I do with it? Anyway, that guy Mertz over there in Germany. So we have to build up our military to stop the Russians. Germany, the third largest economy in the world, largest economy in Europe, in a recession for 2 years. In 2025, I don't know what the numbers will be, but they're saying right now the economy may grow by 0.2%, which means no growth at all. So, what are they doing? Borrowing $1 trillion to build up their military. And we're building up our infrastructure to hold the tanks too. And it'll build up our economy. No, it won't. Economies are only built up when the products that are being manufactured are consumed. This only enriches the military-industrial complex. Going back to Trump, as much as I oppose what Trump's done with Venezuela, bombing Iran, and by the way, make this clear too, he bombed them on the weekends when the equity markets were closed. If you bombed them when the equity markets were open, man, it would have been a shock. But anyway, if Trump was president when the Ukraine war began on February 24th, 2022, he would not have done what Joe Biden did, and that is steal all, the numbers vary, between $250 to $300 billion to keep the war going over there in Ukraine.
From Russia.
We gave Kyiv between $250 to $350 billion to keep the war going.
Still here.
Okay.
Trump would not have done that.
I'm not positive.
So I support him on
Not
that.
here.
I'm totally against the Israeli side, just to make that clear. So, going back, as you mentioned, we talked about this for years. This is your Trends Journal cover when it was a quarterly, and again, now it's a weekly. Spring. So how happy that guy is? Washington is driving the world to the final war. Article by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts about the United States overthrow the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych that everybody forgot. Here. Ukraine presented the perfect opportunity for Washington to advance its hegemonic agenda. In a speech at the National Press Club last December, meeting Secretary of State Victoria Nuland boasted that Washington had invested $5 billion in non-governmental organizations, NGOs, in Ukraine for the purpose to teach democracy. All right? Remember her and John McCain handing out cookies? Oh, everybody forgot her being caught on the cell phone talking to that little clown boy, Jeffrey Pyatt, who was the United States ambassador to Ukraine? F you to the EU. She didn't say F you, she said the other word. We're going to put Yatsen. In other words, they're going to overthrow Yanukovych and put this little clown boy Yatsenyuk in. And that's what they did. Here, this is your Trends Journal. Back then. People have no idea. They set the United States up, the people, to hate Russia before they did it. You see that thing? The Sochi Olympics was coming up. Here's the headline. Leading up to the Sochi Olympics, media and government officials warned of looming terror attacks. Hotels in disrepair, filth, yellow drinking water, and homophobes everywhere. The propaganda campaign primed Americans to view Russia unfavorably. They set it up. The ratings went way down.
Deal with you.
All right? People have no idea about this. They have no idea about the deal Baker and Gorbachev when the Soviet Union broke up. Quote, NATO will not move 1 inch further. There were 16 NATO countries back then. Now we got 32. You got, people say, why do they do this? You don't ask a lunatic why they're a lunatic. Why is a wasted word. You got crazy people. Remember that little Boris Johnson guy over there in the UK? That the best cartoonist couldn't come up with a freakier little clown than him? Going over to Kyiv, along with Biden's guys? Going to Turkey to kill the deal that they made? Kyiv and Moscow made not to keep the war going? And they killed it to keep the war going. Everybody forgot about that. They don't know about it. Did Taylor Swift have sex last night? That's the news.
Okay, I completely agree that Trump would have handled that different. But how do we end this now? Because Europe,
it's not going to end. Again, people forget the reason Russia attacked. They killed over 15,000 people in the Donbass region. The Russians. Russia was part of Ukraine. Ukraine was part of Russia for what, 350 years or something? And then Khrushchev, who was Ukrainian, said, no, it's a separate entity, but still part of the Soviet Union. All right? So that whole eastern part over there into Ukraine, they killed over 15,000 people in that region. Now let's go back and remember the counteroffensive that they were BSing about? That little clown boy, that jerk that was the United States defense guy, Lloyd Austin? How everybody was bragging about the counteroffensive that was going to happen? Ukraine has some 20% of the land they've got. There was no counteroffensive. It was a total failure. They're not going to get back the land that they got. End of story. End of story. They're not going to give back what they have. Because Ukraine, Kyiv, killed all those people in the Donbass region. Not going to give back what they have. So there's not going to be peace. And I talked about Germany and Merz. Stephen, did you like World War II with the Germans? You probably like World War I better. How about the Germans that killed over 27 million Russians in Operation Barbarossa in World War II? 27 million. You got this guy, Merz, said we have to watch those Russians because they're going to attack you. And again, this is all wasted money. Again, as Einstein said, I don't know what kind of weapons will be used to fight the Third World War, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the Fourth. Here, one of my books. Trends 2000, international bestseller. They invite me down to Virginia Military Institute, 2000. Yeah, 26 years ago. Why? To talk about new millennium warfare. I said, building these tanks and planes and ships. I said, this is like getting more advanced bows and arrows. There's going to be worthless stuff, just like that's worthless. The new millennium is going to be a whole different kind of warfare. Back then, what's a drone? All right? Whole different kind of warfare. All this is doing is enriching the military-industrial complex. End of story.
Is this why they don't just break up NATO and say, hey, we're going to spend that money on making America better because the military-industrial complex?
Yep. And again, I'm all opposed to NATO, by the way, as Trump is. I don't give a damn about this crap. And it gets like I used to date a woman in Paris and one in Italy, spent a lot of times in both countries. Everything changed when the EU started. And it came out with the euro. Started to get lost. Under one umbrella. Maniacs running the show. To do everything they can to prop up their economies artificially. Here. By the way, Trump said, I got the article here, CNBC, in February of last year, that he would cut the defense budget by 50%. Go look it up. Now he said he's going to raise it another $500 billion to $1.5 trillion. Every gun that is made, every warship launched, every rocket fired, signifies in the final sense a theft from those who hunger and are not fed, those who are cold and not clothed. The world in arms is not spending money alone. It's spending the sweat of its laborers, the genius of its scientists, and the hopes of the children. This is not a way of life at all in any true sense. Under the clouds of war, it is humanity hanging on a cross of iron. Dwight D. Eisenhower, 5-star general, Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, and 2-term president. Again, whether you like Eisenhower, forget it, don't even go there with it. This is what he said. And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the people listening. I don't like Eisenhower. Forget about it. There's a real guy that hated it because of what he saw going on in World War II. He hated it.
You saw the news, but Fox News is claiming President Trump is declining in the polls. And President
All right, this is why people got to read the Trends Journal. I just read the most recent one, 72 pages, lots of really great in-depth research information. I'm going to put a link down below so that my audience can learn about it. If they use code Gardner, they can get 10% off. You guys do so much incredible research. I've benefited from, my channel sharing information, but then personally, you guys, just pointing out, here's why gold and silver are going to go. Here's what the markets might do. Here's where they might pull back. All just such good information.
Well, thank you. And by the way, there's going to be a correction in gold. Nothing goes straight up in silver. Nothing goes straight up. Yeah. There's going to be corrections. Here, go back to October 16th. Go to my channel, Gerald Salenti, or Trends Journal. What did I say? I said there's going to be a correction in gold. You're going to see prices drop up to $500. 4 days later, it went down almost $500. Nothing goes straight up or straight down. You got to look at this long term. And I want to make this really clear to younger people. And again, I ain't a kid anymore. If you're buying this stuff in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and even your 60s, just put it away and forget about it, all right? Just put it away and forget about it. Because the prices are just going to keep going up. Just going to keep going up. Don't think about buying and selling. But think about buying when the prices go down. And I don't give financial advice, so I'm not going to tell you what I do. Yeah. But just to make it clear.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on. I'm going to put that direct link down below so that people can find it. We'll have you on again in the future. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too, and thank you so much for all you do, and it's great being on with you. And what you're giving the people at a time of journalism being dead is so important. And just to make it 1,000% clear how journalism is dead, hey, there's a place called Pennsylvania and this big city called Pittsburgh, and they had a newspaper that they started in the 1700s, out of business, gone. Journalism is dead. So what you're doing and giving the people, and what we're doing it for the spirit of this country. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, we all need good information to make life decisions. Thank you, Gerald, for coming on. We'll have you on again in the future.
Okay, great.
Come on.
If you feel distant from the Lord, it's probably because you haven't been reading Bible. But what if you hate...
Shocking new video has been released from the cell phone of the ICE agent who shot Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis. Jonathan Ross's footage, which was obtained by Alpha News, offers a whole new perspective on the deadly encounter, revealing Renee's wife Rebecca antagonizing ICE agents just moments before Renee peeled off, clipping the agent, prompting him to open fire.
Go ahead. Out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Whoa!
The new first-person clip comes as various angles of the incident have been analyzed by Americans around the country, dividing the nation as to whom to blame. Viral video filmed by a witness that spread across social media soon after the shooting captured Good's SUV idling across a residential street where ICE agents were conducting an immigration operation. An officer approached her door and ordered her out. She reversed briefly, then began to drive while turning to her right, prompting the agent, since identified as Ross, to jump out of the way and fire 3 shots into the windshield and then the window as it passed. Other surveillance video to Good's death, showing her plum-colored SUV pulling into frame and then letting out a passenger before making a turn perpendicular to the street, seemingly in an attempt to block traffic on the road where ICE had been operating. While protests have erupted across the nation, according to the Trump administration, there should be no question as to who is at fault. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said the officer, a 10-year veteran of the agency, had acted in self-defense and was justified in opening fire, and that Good was part of a mob of agitators attempting to thwart ICE's efforts in enforcing President Trump's immigration crackdown. Vice President Vance firmly echoed that message in a press briefing on Thursday, January 8th.
The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car, and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy.
In any case, the shooting poured gasoline on the long, smoldering tensions between federal immigration agents and protesters who have fought back, at times violently, against the presence of agencies like ICE enforcing the law in their communities.
Right now, if you flip on the news, you're going to see the same basic story on every channel. Special forces dropping into Caracas, Venezuela. A Latin American president dragged out of power, and commentators patting themselves. The news wants you glued to helicopters and nighttime footage, and Congress wants you questioning whether President Trump is legal or moral, so you don't ask the real question, what's really behind all of this? This wasn't some sudden moral awakening about democracy or human rights. It's not mainly about drugs either. This is about money, resources, and a system that's been under pressure that needed to snap. Now, for more than 2 decades, Washington, D.C. tried to strangle Venezuela with sanctions, freezing their assets, propping up opposition figures, and assuming they could keep those oil reserves under control forever. Well, they were losing them to China. What we're really seeing now is the moment where that strategy ran out of runway. The raid is just the dramatic tip of the spear. The real story is the financial stress building up underneath the global system, and why this move in Venezuela had to happen now and not 10 years from now. President Trump is making serious power moves to position the United States to remain the world superpower. To do so, he needs a strong world reserve currency dollar. He needs weaker enemies, metals, precious metals like steel and nickel and iron, and lots of access to oil and energy. What he's done in Venezuela is a complete game changer. Now, I'm going to react to another channel's video. I respect what they said. The second half of this is better than the first, so I'll make sure to put timestamps. But you need to watch this in sequence so you fully understand what President Trump private investment and not taxpayer money, which is what every president has done in the past. Check this out.
Are you looking to watch X-rated movies? It's for free from amateur content.
And not taxpayer money, which is what every president has done in the past. Check this out.
Venezuela. President Trump comes out and says the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over around 30 to 50 million barrels of quality.
Right now, if you flip on the news, you're going to see the same basic story on every channel. Special forces dropping into Caracas, Venezuela. A Latin American president dragged out of power, and commentators patting themselves on the back for a flawless military mission. The news wants you glued to helicopters and nighttime footage, And Congress wants you questioning whether President Trump is legal or moral, so you don't ask the real question. What's really behind all of this? This wasn't some sudden moral awakening about democracy or human rights. It's not mainly about drugs either. This is about money, resources, and a system that's been under pressure that needed to snap. Now, for more than 2 decades, Washington, D.C. tried to strangle Venezuela with sanctions, freezing their assets, propping up opposition figures, and assuming they could keep those oil reserves under control forever. Well, they were losing them to China. What we're really seeing now is the moment where that strategy ran out tip of the spear. The real story is the financial stress building up underneath the global system and why this move in Venezuela had to happen now and not 10 years from now. President Trump is making serious power moves to position the United States to remain the world superpower. To do so, he needs a strong world reserve currency dollar. He needs weaker enemies, metals, precious metals like steel and nickel and iron, and lots of access to oil and energy. What he's done in Venezuela is a complete game changer. Now, I'm going to react to another channel's video. I respect what they said. The second half of this is better than the first, so I'll make sure to put timestamps. But you need to watch this in sequence so you fully understand what President Trump just did for America. And he did it through private investment and not taxpayer money, which is what every president has done in the past. Check this out.
Venezuela. President Trump comes out and says that the U.S., Rob, do you have the story? I think you got a video on this one as well, if I'm not mistaken. President Trump comes out and says Venezuela to give up 50 million barrels of oil to the U.S. I am pleased to announce that the interim authorities in Venezuela will be turning over around 30 to 50 million barrels of quality sanctioned oil to the U.S. This oil will be sold at its market price, and the money will be controlled by me as the president of the United States of America to ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the U.S. I asked Energy Secretary Chris Wright to execute this plan immediately. It will be taken by storage ships and brought directly to unloading docks in the U.S. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He is such an interesting guy. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We just got 50 million barrels, folks. And Trump in a social media post, it will take the U.S. crude oil, crude futures fell 1.3% to 56.39 per barrel on the heels of Trump's announcement. The announcement came 3 days after U.S. captured Maduro. Wall Street Journal reported Tuesday that Trump plans to meet with representatives from the major oil companies, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, along with other domestic producers at the White House on Friday to discuss making significant investments in Venezuela oil sector. Now watch this.
Okay, really quickly. Listen to what President Trump has been saying over and over again. The real power of Russia being able to take out Ukraine has been high oil prices. This is what's giving them the money to fight the war. On top of that, they moved closer in their relationship with China. China is starving for oil. So President Trump is taking one of the main assets off of the game board, which is access to Venezuelan oil.
Here's what's interesting. While this is going on, China's like, wait a minute, that's ours. That's not yours. Here's the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from China giving their message. Go ahead, Rob.
Against Venezuela and demanded that America First be applied when Venezuela disposes of its own oil resources. This is a typical act of bullying, a serious violation of international law, and
All right, that goes on for several minutes, but I respect your time. Basically, America is bad. That was our oil. We had a contract, but what China had done was through their Belt and Road Initiative is they had basically conquered Venezuela and they were going to drive them into bankruptcy or default. What would they then do? They would take over all of those oil fields. And who did those oil fields used to belong to? America. But no American president had the balls to go and take it back until President Trump. Let's keep going on this.
Sure. Tom, how do you feel about this?
Oh, first of all, who is she from? She was from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I thought the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was something that involved Eric Swalwell. So as well, pass on that. Second, Here's something, fun facts. Fun facts. Ready for numbers scream?
Who's all
the
here?
Total output right now during the naval semi-blockade from Venezuela is 600,000 barrels a day. That is the output right now. The nominal output when they were under this over the last couple of years, when they've got electricity shortages and all the things that the problems they had in their economy, was 800,000 to 900,000 barrels a day. The logical limit, based on every pipeline and the port, there's a port Jose and there's a second port. There's two main ports. Is only 1.7 million. And the ports were operating at maximum efficiency, and all the pipelines that go into this huge center geography that's in Venezuela and this big valley where all the oil is, we're all working maximum to 1.7. So what Trump is basically saying right now, somewhere between 600 and 900 barrels a day for the next 90 days, if he wanted to, he could step on the air hose to China and Iran and only send the oil here. Now, there's also something very interesting. Venezuelan oil, because you've heard people talk about light sweet crude and West WTI, West Texas Intermediate, which is the Permian Basin. There's all different types of oil, and just like there's different types of gasoline and aviation gas. Well, guess what? Venezuelan crude is known as heavy crude. And heavy crude needs special refineries who can handle the heavy crude. And would you like to know where the most heavy crude refineries are? And the answer is the United States Gulf Coast, particularly
Gulf of America.
The Gulf of America. Houston Galveston has the most facility in the world to refine Venezuelan oil. Almost like the U.S. oil makers knew or were buying from Venezuela all along and had the facility, so when they got that type of crude, they could turn it into the big four: automobile gas, heating oil, aviation, and plastic-like items. Right. So what's going on right now, there's only one U.S. Oil company operating at speed, and that's Chevron, and they're getting about 250 million barrels a day. So guess what? So if he's going to have a meeting in the White House, really, he's really asking Chevron, are you going to put up more money for infrastructure, number one, because they want to move that well beyond 1.7 million barrels a day. They want to get up to 2.5, 3 million barrels a day. That's going to take pipelines. And that's also, I won't get into the technology of it, but Venezuela pumps most of their oil cold, meaning they don't put steam or other things into the ground to pull it out, like what they do, like for the oil sands. And pull it out, like what they do, like for the oil sands. And
now, President Trump just had a meeting at the White House with all of the top U.S. oil refinery companies, and most of them came out saying, Mr. President, we are willing to commit $500 million, $1 billion, $2 billion, $2.5 billion. They are excited about this, and what they are saying is, we'll invest the capital. We'll create thousands of good-paying jobs for the people of Venezuela. Then America and Venezuela will share in the oil, the security, and the money that comes from this. But it's all about control. And they're about to get into the deep dive of the brilliance of Donald Trump.
Alberta and the shale that's in North Dakota, they use a lot of heat to go down there, loosen up the oil so it can pull it up. So what the president is basically saying here is like, you know what, China, you were, and they needed it. So Trump's going to put a stop to that. So China is going to have not have access to that. Move. That's the power move.
What a move.
And then never mind Iran, what's going on over there. And now he's wants to take it, but he wants to pay the people. He wants Chevron to pay the people of Venezuela. He wants to get up to 2.5, 3 million barrels a day, but he wants the people of Venezuela to be paid for it. You know why that's good? Every time we try to rebuild a country, who pays for it? We do. We gave all those contracts to Halliburton when we were rebuilding the Middle East after wars, right? Well, guess what? They came out of American taxpayers. Well, now this is, hey, we have regime change. We have some government we like. There's going to be some bumps in the road. This is all going to go there. And we want their country to get the money for their oil so they could rebuild themselves. Now, sure, there'll probably be a lot of American contractors down there who want to get paid to do it, but it'll be money that comes that way. And that is the story of Venezuelan oil.
This is what we did with Japan. This is what we should have done with Germany, but we didn't, and it turned into World War II. So getting them the money and then having private corporations fund this. Now, again, here's where we go into the brilliance of Trump.
How much of this do you think, like I almost want to think about how much of Venezuela, of what happened with Maduro was singular, and how much of it was a process of sequencing because of the ties Venezuela could have for America to get access back to the Panama Canal, because the Panama Canal, like if I was to write a priority, Tom, and this goes to all of you guys, question for you. You're the president, Trump administration, you're sitting there. 10 issues. Rank importance of some of these issues. Which one's more important than other? Ready? Hang on. Maduro being captured. You got Iran regime changing, okay, because of how chaotic it is, and you know how they call them the Middle East. What do they call it? There's a word for it, that they are the agency of terrorism in the Middle East. You hear a comment like that? Yeah. Sponsors of terrorism in Iran. Okay. All right. So
money and influence.
How about Panama Canal? If let's just take those three. Of those three, which one do you think is number one most important to U.S.? Panama Canal, Iran,
probably
Venezuela.
I would say the canal, because once you get the canal off of Chinese influence, so they needed the canal and they also needed the metal in Venezuela because that's how they get the oil.
Perfect. So then China's the one that stopped the Panama Canal deal with Hutchinson, right?
Right. That's exactly when they told the guy he couldn't sell his shares.
So do you think this is their way of saying, no problem, you want to do that? We've been allowing you to come and get all this oil from the Western Hemisphere, Venezuela. Here's what we're going to do to you. Go ahead. Now what do you want to do? So is he going to use this as a leverage on the tariffs with China? Because I know they've set it up. You know, they're like, nah, we'll renegotiate the China stuff in 90 days or a year or whatever. They kind of put it off. But do you think this is one way of getting the Panama? Like if all of a sudden, because look what happened right there. Look at the date and look at what happened with the percentage increases chances going up. Why does the Venezuela event increase the chance? So there's some ties there between the two. What do you think, Jeff?
I think these are all related. I think these, right? They are playing strategic chess here. Everything they're doing is not, it's not like we're going to get Maduro because we want a regime change in Venezuela. They're getting Maduro because it's the most efficient use of resources, because it accomplishes 4 goals at once.
That's the first domino.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at what they're trying to do, Iran plays in this too.
I think
how do you mess with the Chinese? Well, you get them distracted over in the Middle East and having worried about, all the stuff that's taking place over there. Is Iran, which is an ally of China, are they solid enough? Are they going to be a solid Chinese ally in a couple months, maybe? And this goes back to, why did the U.S. strike the Iranian nuclear facilities? Well, yes, more than one goal was accomplished in that strike. First of all, it set back the Iranian nuclear capacity, but also showed to the Iranian people that the Iranian military is toothless. They had Israeli planes and U.S. planes loitering over the country for, weeks on end?
Yep.
And they could do they were taking out Iranian leaders. It was sending a message. And it wasn't sending a message to just the Iranian people. It says, look, these leaders aren't as powerful as you think it is. It was a message to China. Look at what we can do. Look what we can do in Venezuela. And by the way, Venezuela is hyper strategic. And it's not just about Venezuela. Venezuela, as you said, the next step toward reasserting dominance on Panama Canal and a whole bunch of other stuff that we probably don't even know about. What I'm saying is I think the Trump administration doesn't act on simplistic impulses and irrational emotion as people have this
the
character.
Media paints it out to be.
Yeah, it's not. There's
saying Western Hemisphere, right? Look, this is the Western Hemisphere. The Monroe Doctrine, right? 1800s.
Monroe.
So Western Hemisphere. Well, then somebody could say from China, well, then why do you care about Iran? Or do they? Are they leaving it out there? It's interesting, right, when you think about it. But what are your thoughts on the story here with Venezuela?
No, I think it's a huge opportunity just for the world in general. Because I mean, there was a time where I believe Venezuela was number 4 in terms of overall GDP, and it makes me think of when the Soviet Union collapsed. That if you handle this thing correctly, then you could open up that whole country back to the world as a new market. And you have to be careful with managing it too, because I think like when the Soviet Union collapsed, we kind of mishandled it. We let the CIA, let the oligarchs take over, and then the resentment from the country to that led to Putin being in control. So I think if this is done correctly, it could be a beautiful thing. It could kind of get that communist virus out of South America, because the whole communist spread across South America started with Cuba, then it went over to Venezuela, and now it's gone over to Colombia. So they could start like extracting that kind of spirit from South America. That's a big thing too.
All right. So America is going to step on the air hose feeding oxygen to China. They are going to drop the price of oil worldwide to affect Russia. They will disrupt Iran while the people are raging and protesting and removing the terrorist regime. They will starve Cuba of money, oil, and power. All this to take down countries that have been hurting and planning to destroy us. Now, I believe most of this Venezuelan oil will actually go towards refilling the strategic oil reserves that President Joe Biden drained in order to lower gas prices and win the 2022 election. However, President Trump understands that oil and energy are the real power now, and he just made sure the United States controls over 50% of the oil reserves, making America the superpower once again.
Epstein files just dropped, and every outlet is telling a different story. But I found a way to see what's really in there. I'll show you in a sec. CNN's focused on one angle, Fox is pushing another, Twitter.
Come on, ain't that the day?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and President Donald Trump just dropped the hammer in a big way, and the world is on notice. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. The President of the United States ain't nothing to mess with. That's a lesson that Venezuela recently learned. But there is a lot of turmoil in a lot of the world right now. You have Cuba on the brink. You have Colombia. There's a lot of restlessness over what President. Now, I know a lot of guys don't want foreign intervention. I feel the same way. But I remember what Iran did to us in the 1970s. And I want to see it fall. President Donald Trump does not want to get involved, but he made a very strong and very clear message to the Iranian government. If you harm your protesters, if you shoot, we will shoot. It is unequivocal, and the one thing I can say world leaders need to take heed of, especially after Venezuela, is that when President Donald Trump says something, he damn well means it. Now, I know, like I said, a lot of people don't want to get involved, but this does protect our national security, and that's the thing you have to really understand. Iran is a threat to our national security directly. I want you guys to watch this and let me know what you think in the comments.
Attack a country and they name a street, that's never happened before, although I heard that's also taking place in Iran. They named a street, the protesters. I just hope, just God bless them. I just hope the protesters in Iran are going to be safe, because that's a very dangerous place right now. And again, I tell the Iranian leaders, you better not start shooting, because we'll start shooting too. With your glasses, sir, go ahead, please. Hold it. Next to you. Yes, glasses. The gentleman with the glasses.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
With those very big glasses, actually.
Yeah, Ferrari, actually. Mr. President, I have two questions. In Ukraine, the European leaders seem pretty divided on Ukraine, and then if you can reiterate this straight message that you have to the Iranian leader, to Khomeini, the message that you have.
You're talking about Iran?
Oh, Iran, yeah.
What do I want Iran to do?
I'm sorry?
Where are you from?
Italy.
Oh, nice place.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first question.
So what are you asking about Iran for?
Well, if you can answer about Europe and what you think the Europeans should do on Ukraine, and then a message.
Well, look, Europe has been doing so much for Ukraine, but it hasn't been enough. And obviously that I would say that President Putin is not afraid of Europe. He's afraid of the United States of America, as led by me. There's no fear of Europe. Europe's fallen behind, and Europe, and JD said it very strongly. I don't know, he took a lot of heat, but I didn't give him any heat. Europe is a different place. Europe is changing. Europe has got to get its act together. I love Europe. I guess I came from Europe, essentially.
Check out these thermal winter gloves. This winter, keep your hands warm with these windproofs. Just look at the grip on them.
Oh boy, what?
Yeah, I didn't use this word phrase before, but now I will. President Trump called her Marjorie Trader Green. I did not like that phrase, but I like it now, and I'm using it. I'm going to show you why she is Marjorie Trader Green, why there could be charges on her, and she could get in big trouble. She could go to prison. Welcome to Doug in Exile. Can you guys tell what I visited last night? I don't know. I'll let you guys figure it out. Maybe you guys can help me out in the chat below if you know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the news. Let's go. This is just the important stuff. I like tracking exactly what's going on with the Trump administration and how he got screwed by Marjorie Taylor Greene. This was a post by even Scott Jennings, who has seen everything. He's over in enemy territory over at CNN, right? And look at this. He goes, this is absolutely insane. Wow. This is from A.G. Hamilton 29 with 200,000 followers. Wow. White House officials believe Marjorie Taylor Greene tipped off the lunatics at Code Pink. Code Pink. That's like the Cindy Sheehan anti-war. They went against Trump. Bush, all the way back to Bush. Code Pink. You know, they're the peacenik old lady boomers who are radical. They've been infiltrated, funded by George Soros, radical. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, they believe, tipped off the lunatics at Code Pink as to where Trump would be dining last September when they went and protested him. Now, this could have put Trump's life in danger. That's what I mean by I think charges could come against Marjorie Taylor Greene. If she had personal inside knowledge, help them locate him. So now Marjorie Taylor Greene goes in a different category than just I disagree with that wacky gal. Now it's, you're a scumbag lunatic and a traitor. She apparently kept checking with White House aides beforehand to confirm he was going there. This is from an Axios article. Now, this is very strange, guys. This is a whole different category of putting the president, after he'd been shot, she thought this was a good idea. This ding-a-ling, all because she's the jilted lover. You know, she was upset that Trump didn't give her enough to answer her messages, help her enough with her campaign as she was trying to grasp more power in Georgia, and thank God she lost. Boy, did we flush this loser out. This traitor out. Here's the article. The relationship between President Trump and former Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene grew so poisonous that the White House told the Secret Service that Marjorie Taylor Greene may have tipped off Code Pink protesters about his surprise visit last fall to a D.C. restaurant she recommended to Trump. Two sources of Trump's team tell Axios. So this is why Trump would know that she was a traitor if this is true, right? That episode, which involved a chaotic confrontation between anti-war activists and Trump, embarrassed the president. Safety. A year after he narrowly escaped an assassination attempt, why it matters. Trump aides view the Joe's seafood debacle as a point of no return in relationship with Marjorie Taylor Greene, a Trump ally turned critic who left office this week. So now the details are coming out. Trump was reasonable in calling her a traitor, and she does this giant publicity tour over on The View and everywhere else saying, he called me a traitor after I supported him. Well, maybe you shouldn't backstab him. Now here's Marjorie Taylor Greene in the comments to Scott Jennings. She goes, this is a lie. And then here's A.G. Hamilton again saying, why were you calling White House aides to check if Trump was planning to go there then? What was the value of doing that since you weren't going to the dinner? Have you had any contact with Medea Benjamin regarding ways to protest Trump? That's her close personal friend in Code Pink. So that's the ongoing argument. But wait, I got more from Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama is being investigated, according to Rothmus. Michelle Obama refuses to cooperate with congressional auditors from the House Ethics Committee looking into East Wing corruption. That's underneath the First Ladies is the East Wing corruption. Dating back to George W. Bush administration, this would include Laura Bush. We're trying to determine how much each of these First Ladies took from the U.S. taxpayer, said committee auditor Rep. Joe Barron, Republican, Idaho. After seeing that Mrs. Trump, that's Melania, the richest first lady by far, most elegant, supermodel, seen as a shallow grifter by the mainstream media, though apparently she has spent the least. Remember, Michelle Obama would have these tens of thousands of dollar cost dresses that she would go out in. Quote, after seeing that Miss Trump spent less than $1 million in 4 years, we feel we should figure out why the rest have spent $10 million or more. Michelle Obama says if they want to audit her office, they should contact the National Archives. The National Archives are all Democrats and Obama apologists. They have all of that information. Remember, the National Archives are the ones that set up Trump over at Mar-a-Lago and went through Melania Trump's underwear drawer. The archives confirm that the Obamas never turned over their financial records. Gee, I wonder why. Why? You can tell me in the chat below. What is Michelle hiding? Here's Scott Bessent on Secretary Bessent says the Treasury has discovered an alleged fraud scheme with money service business in Minnesota, sending taxpayer money overseas. Here's the clip. He's on the Steve Bannon show over there.
The time has come for accountability. President Trump wants accountability. I want accountability. The American people want accountability, and they will get accountability. That is why I'm announcing several initiatives Treasury is taking to target fraud. Will serve as a genesis and a launching pad for investigations into other states. First,
like California,
we have followed the money and identified the money service businesses that may have transferred taxpayer funds overseas. Our team at FinCEN has just provided formal notification to these businesses that they are under investigation. These businesses had an obligation to comply with anti-money laundering laws, and they will be held responsible for any crimes they committed. FinCEN has also issued a geographic targeting order for Hennepin and Ramsey counties that require banks and money transmitters to report additional information about funds transferred outside of the United States. This will put a microscope on these businesses, advance prosecutions, and assist in the recovery of funds laundered internationally.
I'll give you another way that this is very good. They're not just going to catch the money, because they said it's going overseas, any money going overseas. It's not just money going back to Somalia. They're going to be able to track the much more money, the billions of dollars going back to Mexico by our illegal workforce. So they're throwing down a dragnet now. This is going to shake out so much good news, so pro-America, so good for the American worker that Trump is doing. And Marjorie Taylor Greene chose to join the enemy. Here's Johnny MAGA. Breaking. The White House contacted Secret Service regarding Marjorie Taylor Greene after an incident where President Trump was accosted by Code Pink protesters inside a D.C. restaurant over the summer. And MTG apparently called Trump to recommend that very restaurant days earlier. She also happens to be friends with the founder of Code Pink. There's Marjorie Taylor Greene with her true allegiance, not friends with Trump, not friends with MAGA, not friends with the American people, but friends with the anti-war, anti-Israel lunatics in Code Pink. And remember, they're not celebrating the freedom of Iranian citizens and Venezuelan citizens. They don't care about them. They are silent on that, on actual freedom and liberation of human beings from dictatorial states. They're only against Republican foreign military action because it weakens socialism, weakens their LGBTQ agenda, weakens their anti-Israel, anti-Semite agenda. That's what they're really about. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been carrying their water, and I got nothing more for her. May you be held to account. I'm Doug, in exile, having eaten a double.
Oh. My name is Adam Ferrer.
Come on, stupid commercial.
The Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you joining us at our next investor webinar, where you can...
Today, I'll cover two major stories. Congress has officially started questioning Minnesota leaders to get to the bottom of why so much American money was stolen. The second will be how President Trump is putting China, Russia, and Iran in their place as he strengthens the Western Hemisphere. To help me go through all of this and more, I have journalist Lee Smith. Lee, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Stephen. Always great to be with you.
I appreciate you coming on. Lots going on in the country right now. Let me give my audience some background on you. So Lee is a columnist for Tablet Magazine. He's the author of Disappearing the President, The Plot Against the President, which is a book and became a movie about how they tried to take out President Trump, and then his most recent book, The China Matrix. Let me start you and the audience off with a clip from Nick Shirley, the brave journalist who's been exposing all the fraud in nationwide, and specifically in Minnesota. Let me show you this, and then we'll react to it together.
There's fraud all across the country right now with these daycare facilities. I'll watch your 4 kids, and we'll make $25,000 a pop.
That's crazy.
And a lot of people have taken advantage of that in places like Seattle, Washington, for instance. So this fraud's happening everywhere. Now, the people have given me a mandate to expose more of the fraud, so I'll be exposing more.
Yeah. We all know how much money got flooded out into these communities with so little accountability, starting in COVID and continuing after that. How much more of this story do you think we're going to see out there, David?
We're going to see a lot. We're going to see it. We're seeing it in California. We're going to see it in New York with the home health aides. And I think we need to look at this in an entirely different way. This is not standard Tammany Hall patronage and kickbacks, right? We've always had that. That was meant to keep people in power. That was not meant to be a massive redistribution of wealth. What we're seeing here is a massive redistribution of wealth. When these blue states allocate billions of dollars for marginalized communities and then fail to put in place any safeguards to stop theft, that's Marxism by fraud. That's taking money from corporations, from rich people, saying we're going to send it over here. We're not going to pay any attention to what's happening to it. And we're talking about tens of billions of dollars, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars. So we need to start thinking about this in those terms, not just as a small story of Tammany Hall style.
Absolutely. And accountability and justice have to be blind. And so you can't avoid prosecuting a certain group because you think it will make you, it's suggested that he was doing.
Lee, what do you make of this? I like that. This is Marxism by fraud. And this is essentially mass American over to these immigrants that come here and have basically been given the green light to rob us blind. Your thoughts on all that?
Well, I wanted to start with perhaps the most controversial part, and that is the racism, right? It's like or what they're describing, what the outgoing governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, is decrying as racism. It's like no one asked for Somalis to be shipped en masse to the United States. No one would have a problem with Somalis if the Somalis hadn't been sent to absorb money from American taxpayers. And let's remember, this is not Minnesota taxpayers, or it's not just Minnesota taxpayers. It's federal money. Right. So it's everyone across the country who is paying for this. And the idea that they're saying, oh, well, it's just racism. Like, look, you introduced them. You brought them here. Right. You're the problem. And so Americans are certainly within their right to say, why was this entirely foreign community that bears no relationship to the United States, does not share our values, does not share our ideas? Why are they here to begin with? And now that we find out that they've been bilking Americans billions and billions of dollars, it's horrifying. And look, let's remember also the last scandal that came out of Minnesota regarding the Somali community, and that is that they send their young men back to Somalia to fight side of Islamist terrorists. Shabab is a designated U.S. foreign terrorist organization. The idea, again, that these people are sending their young men, their boys back to fight with terrorists, then they come back to the United States and they're taking American taxpayer money. It's just ludicrous. How anyone could find any possible way to defend this is obscene.
Yeah. I like how Tim Walz and the Democrats are trying to make this a race issue. The one that made me kind of chuckle was that this was white supremacy. When was the last time white supremacy benefited a black person, right? Like, I'm talking with black Americans around the country as I interview, as I call around to friends. They're furious about this. Like, some of them are 7, 8, 9 generation families, and then they have somebody imported, and then suddenly, boom, they're taking advantage of America. I thought that was crazy. Like, how on earth could this be white supremacy?
Right. Well, Walz knows it's indefensible, but again, this is the last refuge of scoundrels to call someone racist for noticing your corruption, right? Walz knows it's indefensible, and that's why he's not running for re-election. So he can say whatever he likes, but in his heart of hearts, or certainly with his political consultants and strategists, they know what the problem is. And the problem is that Walz says there's no way he's going to get away from this. And let's hope that his blood is the first, that other people will pay a price for this, that people will go to jail, not just the Somali fraudsters who have been indicted, but the different political officials across the country who are responsible for this. And look, the other thing that we have to admit is it's also about the NGOs who've been processing immigrants into this country who do not belong in this country. And this has been going on for decades now. And the Somalis are right at the very top of the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
She died 2 weeks after delivering this message. Watch this before they delete it.
What is cancer exactly?
Well, things are getting heated. President Trump, by the end of this week, will have over 2,000 Border Patrol agents. Right now, there's hundreds of arrests that have already taken place. But one of my worries is what happens when things go wrong. And that's exactly what happened today. You had a leftist calling out Border Patrol, saying that this was racist, that you can't, profile the Somalis, even though they've stolen. And they tried to run an agent over. And unfortunately, that woman ended up being shot and killed. Let me show you this.
Well, we got confirmation now through DHS that this was a vehicle ramming situation. They say, in fact, while ICE officers and federal agents were conducting targeted operations, they had the usual scene with the crowds descending on them. And someone, they say, DHS says, weaponized her vehicle. The ICE officer, fearing for his life and the lives of other agents, discharged his weapon and shot that individual, a woman who now, according to DHS, is from DHS saying that this is a direct consequence of constant attacks and demonization of our officers by sanctuary politicians who fuel and encourage rampant assault. As far as the scene out here right now, you can see some of the police presence. The tape that is up to the south of me right now, there are about 100 demonstrators. The usual scene, shouting at the ICE agents.
All right. This is one of my worries is, you've got the left, you've got the media, you've got government leaders constantly demonizing ICE, defending fraudsters, defending illegal immigrants, openly calling for the taxpayers to help those in need. Are we going to end up seeing another George Floyd-like situation? Because after this, hundreds of people boxed in ICE agents. They had to use tear gas in order to cut through the crowd. Any worry about this thing blowing up like we saw in the Summer of Love in Minnesota?
Yeah, because let's remember that it's not just a function of the demonization, as the television reader was saying, and as you're saying too. I think it's not just about the demonization of ICE agents and the president's deportation campaign. This goes back much further, and it's kind of heartbreaking, actually, if you step back and you say, "My goodness!" I mean, this woman is willing. She was willing to kill someone for this perverted belief about how you need to protect these people who are here. What is that about? I mean, again, I assume it goes back to some idea of fighting racism or fighting xenophobia or whatever. But again, the Somalis do not belong here. And when you shouldn't be standing in the way of arrest. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. But these people think that they're standing on a moral high ground, and so apparently that justifies trying to run over a federal law enforcement officer. So and she paid very tragically. She paid very tragically with her life for these very stupid, these very dangerous beliefs. And yes, Stephen, I'm with you. I think this is probably going to lead to, and we've been looking at this for a while. I actually wrote about this before, before President Trump's inauguration last January, that the deportation campaign and closing the borders, this is a Trump priority, and it's a Democratic Party priority to block the deportation campaign and to keep those borders open. The president has successfully shut the borders, but the deportation campaign, they're having much more problems getting that done because of all sorts of obstruction, whether it's people throwing themselves in the in the way of ICE officers, or whether it's judges around the country who are keeping bad people in this country who guys to wage this very destructive and very divisive fight. Again, why they're fighting other Americans who just want to protect their life savings from being swindled by foreigners who don't belong here. It's beyond me, but that's where we are right now as a country.
Yeah, I'm with you. It like makes no sense to my brain. And yet, I'm going to show you in the audience a clip. Congresswoman Nancy Mace gets to officially question one of the top leaders in Minnesota. And instead of helping her understand the situation, he goes on to defend the Somali community and their theft and their bad behavior. Let me show you and the audience that.
Question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Balyu?
Again,
Yes
I'm not
or
sure
no?
that's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So if you
Minnesotans
commit
are
fraud in this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported. How
Again,
much fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
$1
Ms.
billion?
Mace,
9 billion? 19 billion? What would it take for you?
most Somali Minnesotans are citizens.
Right. And the ones that committed fraud, the question was, if you understand English, should be those who committed fraud, should they be denaturalized and deported? The Somalians who are here, the ones that can't speak English.
Yeah, so under U.S. law...
Okay, my next question for you
Can I please finish the
is,
question?
no, you can't. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported?
Seems really inappropriate. And if I can get
well,
back
you can't
to your
answer my question, so that's probably more inappropriate. Can you name one significant contribution to Minnesota from a Somali immigrant who can't speak English?
Absolutely, yes. But again, this is...
You didn't name one. All right. So my next questions are going to be for the Honorable Ms. Robbins.
All right. So doesn't want to block from committing fraud, doesn't want to remove people that steal from America, finds it inappropriate that you would bring up somebody marrying their own brother in order to break immigration law. Your thoughts on this? I don't know that we're going to get much out of this. It may be time to just start arresting people and letting this stuff go to court.
Well, I think it's going to be very hard to denaturalize people who are, people who have been made American citizens. Again, they shouldn't have been brought to this country to begin with. Because they share none of our values, they share nothing of our culture. But it's going to be very hard to denaturalize them. I think that the legal system is going to have to work. These people are going to have to go to jail. But the people who of course, Representative Mace was referring to her colleague Ilhan Omar. The people who did commit fraud on their visas. That's something else, and that's something else that the administration is pushing. I know regarding a couple of pro-Palestinian terror activists here in New York, or in New York City, Mahmoud Khalil and also Mohsen Madawi. I mean, they have problems with their green cards, so that's what the administration is looking at. They can be sent abroad, or they can be sent back to from whence they came. But again, they're being blocked. The administration is being blocked all over. So I think it's really important that we focus on things that we can actually really get done, and denaturalizing hundreds of thousands or however many there are in the Twin City area, 80,000, something like that. I think that's going to be really hard. The ones who can be sent back home, the ones who have overextended their visas, they should absolutely be sent back to Somalia. People who come back and people who go back and forth fighting terror wars in East Africa, they should certainly be kept out of the country. But denaturalizing 80,000 people, I think it's unlikely. So let's focus on what we can do. First is to close the borders entirely on Somalis. The people who are here are going to have to assimilate, and if they don't assimilate, if they keep doing things like they're doing with these scams, then they'll just wind up spending the rest of their time here in the United States as U.S. citizens in U.S. federal prisons.
Yeah, I think that might be the next step, is if we can't denaturalize you, did you commit fraud and take $2 million and then have no children in your daycare? Okay, boom, you go to jail. And maybe there should be a lot of community service to maybe pay back to the community what you did versus just. I love kimchi and I take it daily. Since starting, my energy is up, my gut feels healthier, I feel genuinely happy. It's amazing what a balanced microbiome can do. My gut got wrecked after COVID, and
picture, our problem across the world is China, right? So focusing on Venezuela here in our hemisphere, and I believe that China was getting something like 5% of its oil, its energy needs met by Venezuela. It's a very specific kind of oil, as I understand. But yeah, so I see it's a very, very big blow to China, not just to the socialist Maduro regime, but certainly to China as well. And again, it's important, of course, for us to manage our own hemisphere properly, whether that's ensuring or helping boost Javier Milei in Argentina, who's a great ally of the United States and a friend of the president's. That was very important to keep Chinese assets, how should we put it, from running Argentina. So it's important, the Western Hemisphere, but we really need to understand this as a global, not just a contest, but a conflict. And competitor. China is not a rival. China is an adversary, and this is how Donald Trump understands it. And I think going forward over the next few years, as we see different Trump administration initiatives around the world in terms of foreign policy, we need to understand that big picture, that for the president, China is at the center of it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he always talks about having a good relationship. He thinks that we can coexist, but then he's making moves in order to strengthen America. For example, and most of these are against China. I know there are other parts of the world, but President Trump is onshoring jobs. He's onshoring medicine. He's onshoring factories. He's reopening mines. He's seeking new sources of rare earth mineral. Is all of this designed to decouple the United States from China, or is it just to ensure that were they to try to cut us off, that we're not completely sitting out here without the medicines and things that we need in order to survive?
Well, that's a very big deal to make sure. China has attacked lots of strategic U.S. industries, and pharmaceuticals is one of them. Steel was another, and this is something the Chinese have been doing for decades. So yeah, it's very important for the United States to be able to make the things that we need here that are vital to American peace and prosperity. And pharmaceuticals, penicillin, these things are certainly a large part of it. Steel as well, in terms of ship making, in terms of these things are very important. So the president sees in a number of different ways. It's right. Part of it is decoupling us from China, because it's very poisonous and very. I'm keen to remind people, and that's, again, another thing that comes out in the China Matrix, is this is a communist regime. People have been telling us for decades, oh, well, they're not, but they're interested in money, aren't they? Yes, communists are always interested in money. They're interested in other people's money. That's what they do. They absorb the wealth of other people, the middle class. There was no real large middle class in China after the Chinese Revolution. So whose money did they start to absorb? Ours, right? When everyone talks about the magic, the miracle of pulling hundreds of millions of peasants out of poverty and turning them into China's middle class, that came at the expense of American workers, right? That's our money. That's what the trade deficit describes. So yes, it's a hostile power that's targeted our strategic industries and has allied itself with very bad anti-American actors around the world. Venezuela is one, Iran is another, as is Russia.
Okay. President Trump went on a very successful tour in the Middle East. Some were critical that he spent too much time on Israel, too much time on the Middle East. But from my perspective, and I want to get your thoughts on this as someone who writes about China, I saw it as him enticing the Middle East to turn back to the, as we stopped paying attention to that region, China slipped in and did this $400 billion contract with Iran, and they were trying to get into Saudi Arabia and weaken the U.S. dollar. Now Trump has committed trillions of dollars from the Middle East. This helps strengthen Israel. We have the Abraham Accord. Do you see some of this as him shifting their focus back to America and away from China?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look. I mean, the real point, the real strategic play in the Middle East. It's not for the Eastern Mediterranean. It's not Israel and Gaza or the West Bank or Lebanon or Syria. It's farther east. It's the Persian Gulf, right, where 20% of the world's energy supplies traverse through the Straits of, traverse through the Straits of Hormuz. This is very, very important. The idea of China getting a foothold in the Straits of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf through their Iranian ally would be a disaster for the United States. This is why the Middle East is really important to America. So you have the Persian Gulf, but also the Eastern Mediterranean is important, the Red Sea. All of these are potential choke points that could be its partners in terms of trade routes, in terms of energy traversing through these bodies of waters. That's why the Middle East, Israel this, Israel that, Palestinians this, the Palestinians that. Israel is a very, very important Middle East ally insofar as it's able to get things done absolutely in the Eastern Mediterranean, but also we saw in June how they obliterated, alongside the U.S., Iran's nuclear facilities. So yes, absolutely, it was about stability in the region. It's about making sure that the region is curated by American allies, whether that's the Gulf Cooperation Council states like Saudi, like the U.A.E., like Qatar, all the way to the Eastern Mediterranean, where you have Israel, you have Egypt. These are all American allies. So it's very, very important that we stand with our allies there, and we make sure that they are prepared to protect American interests there. And that's really what Israel does. Israel fights for American interests as well as, of course, its own national interests.
Yeah. And I see Trump trying to use diplomacy more than missiles, where he wants to make sure that the Middle East is seen and heard by the United States. He's also doing a lot of that in Latin America, taking back the Panama Canal, interest in the different elections going on in South America. Lee, if we read the China Matrix, what are we going to learn by reading the book?
Well, I mean, the subtitle of the book is The Epic Story of How Donald Trump Shattered a Deadly Pact. The book is, Donald Trump is the hero of the book. Donald Trump is the first American president who recognized how poisonous this relationship between the United States and China has been, how much it's hurt our peace and prosperity. And Donald Trump was the first person as president to identify it. There have been many people over the last half century who've said that this is a bad thing, but Trump is the first president to have done something about it. And what we're going to see here, I think, over the coming years is I go back and I look at Trump's first term as well and explain what the trade war then looked like and how that will help us understand what's going to happen over the next couple of years. And it's not going to happen all at once. There's going to be moments when issues with China flare up, and that's going to be the front page of the news. But there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, too. That's what happened during the first term, and that's what's happening now as well. And Donald Trump understands, as his second and final term, it's crucial that he readjusts this relationship. As he leaves office, it will be a cornerstone of his legacy to make sure that the United States is not dependent on China, to make sure that the United States is not subjected to this relationship, because this is the United States, as the world's oldest democracy and the greatest country in the history of the world, cannot be tied to a communist regime. It spells death for us.
Okay. Well, where can people get the book, and how can they follow you online?
That's very kind, Stephen. Thanks. Getting the book, excuse me, my publisher is Center Street, so they can order directly from Center Street. Of course, they can find it on Amazon as well. The China Matrix, the epic story of how Donald Trump shattered a deadly pact. And following me, you can follow me on Truth Social, at Lee Smith, and on X, at Lee Smith DC.
Okay, I'll put those direct links down below. Thank you so much for coming on and going through these big stories with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Stephen. You too, and Happy New Year.
Same to you.
This.
Alright, we'll talk for a little bit there. How we doing today? I know you all can see me pretty well. I can see you. How's everybody doing? Yeah, there's people there watching me. But yeah, that country is fake, man. You guys talk to me, man. How's everybody doing there? Did everybody enjoy the last night's old mic thing last night? Did we all had a good time? I know I do. I always have a good time doing things. Come on, Patriots. Anybody here talk to me? Likes only after all you've been here all day, and wake up. And Dill, what's up with your fake channel there, kiddo? You're there watching me. talking tonight. What's up, buddy? Is anybody here still or no? Background. Big deal, those hiding. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and end the live stream because no one's really talking to me. There's someone saying live. You know, we had more things to watch. But... Alright, well, you guys all enjoy your night. Good night.